This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you live and around the world from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and Starcom Radio Network. Worldwide toll-free 800-610-7035. Email xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And you can listen to the X-Zone 24/7, 365 at www.xzoneradiotv.com. We're coming very close to that great debate date, September 30th, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. until 10 p.m., right here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and Starcom Radio Network with Michael Horn and Stanton T. Friedman. The topic of the debate, the Billy Meyer case. Once again, that is Wednesday, September the 30th, from 8 p.m. Eastern until 10 p.m. Eastern on the X-Zone Radio Show, on the Starcom Radio Network, and on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Speaking about the Starcom Radio Network, check out my friend, the one and only Ed Till, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. at www.starcomradionetwork.com. Patricia Reese is our special guest this hour. www.patriciaressenterprises.com is the website. And Patricia, welcome back to the X-Zone.
Oh, I'm glad to be here.
So, Patricia, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, right now I'm semi-retired, and I'm a writer, and I live in Omaha, Nebraska. And I've written at least 55 books. I've written more than that, but some of them are out of print, the ones that go back 30 years or something, And I do have an occasional co-host for Night Search, which is a radio show out of Memphis, Tennessee. And they they like to study like ghosts and UFOs and that type of thing.
Now I understand. I understand that Night Search is on Blog Talk Radio.
Yeah, that's true right now. That's
right.
Correct.
Okay. So, tell me about your interest. Where did your interest in the paranormal come from?
Well, it's kind of strange. I have always been kind of interested in that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Star Trek and Twilight Zone in high school, and when I was younger, I would write short stories, about for things like that, and I just kind of stuck with it. And so now they say 30-year paranormal investigator, and I think, my God, has it been that long? But yes, I've been at it for a long time.
So, what would you say your crowning achievement has been as a paranormal investigator?
Well, I've met Mr. Ron Stone, and he's helped me write a couple books just from the information that he gave me, and that I can research some of it and go with the information he's given me. And so I would say some of the best stuff I've come up with has been recently.
All right, so let's go before you met Mr. Ron Stone. What would you say was your most defining moment as a paranormal investigator?
Defining moment.
Yes.
Oh dear. something strange happened. I interviewed two people from totally opposite backgrounds, totally opposite. And they both had a visitation experience that was identical. So in other words, it couldn't be like they both had the same religious beliefs or they both had the same educational background or, something like that. It kind of proved it to me that there was something else at work.
Such as?
An outside force of some kind.
And how did you come to that conclusion?
Because, like I say, there was nothing else that would have accounted for this.
Well, what exactly was the case about?
Oh, okay. There's an engineer who lives in Lincoln, Nebraska, and he has been visited for many, many years. And when I was just fascinated with the case as it was. But one day I was interviewing a lady, and she was an artist, and we got to talking, and I said nothing to her to even suggest I was interested. And she was telling me about having an experience with these aliens. And what she told me, I felt like I was hearing the same thing that I had just heard from John. His name was John Foster, by the way. And I thought that when I talked to her, she, like she must have heard us or something because it was almost identical. And I thought, I was curious. I, listened and asked a few questions. I thought maybe they had belonged to the same religion or, that this might have been an angelic thing or whatever. But there was nothing similar to these people in their backgrounds. And I mean nothing. Like he had studied sciences, she had studied the arts, different things like that. And yet they came to the same conclusion.
Well, was their experience the same, or was it a matter that they both had experiences with extraterrestrials?
Well, their experience was the same. What was really scary was, I'll just give you one example. They had both had schoolyard experiences where they were with their classmates at the school. And they had, John claimed that for some reason they could stop time. And he went into this UFO and they had stopped time, and when he did get out of it and went back, like nothing had happened, everybody was standing around, and then later, of course, it went back to normal. And she had the same thing, only with John, it was a school in Lincoln, Nebraska, and with this lady, it was a school here in Omaha. And it was the same thing of stopping time, going on board, meeting the aliens, and then being done.
Gotcha.
And having time begin again. And that just sort of blew my mind because it was so similar. I mean, it was identical. It was more than similar. And that convinced me that there had to be something else going on than just, speculation or,
Right. But what was it in your life that brought you to the point where you wanted to become a paranormal investigator?
Well, I didn't actually want to become, but I will tell you, I lost my only brother when I was 12 years old. He died of a kidney disease. And so I became very curious about death.
Right.
And what is death, and is there a heaven, and if there is a heaven, where do you go to? And is it a paranormal place, or is it actually planetary or extra-dimensional? And I was reading things about antimatter and things. My parents thought I was really going nuts, because I was interested in all of this. But I have just kept reading, and
Gotcha.
But that's what happened. Yeah.
Now you've got a new book that is entitled Slipstream. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, that's something that Ron Stone has helped me with. And it's, how do I want to say this? I was reading some things one time recently, and I was thinking, why it seemed like whoever is behind some of this UFO stuff has a very negative attitude toward humans, almost to the point where they wonder if we should be allowed to exist. And this kind of concerned me, and I was wondering how they were getting here from where they were and all kinds of things. And Ron had a scientific explanation about that.
Well,
and now
wait a sec. Let's do things in a bit of a chronological order here, okay? Because I don't want to bounce all over the place with my listeners.
Yes.
All right. So let's go back to the point of where you met or how you met Ron Stone. And by the way, Exo Nation, Ron Stone is going to be my guest in the next hour between 9 and 10 Eastern. So how did you meet Ron Stone?
Well, we have mutual friends. We have several mutual friends, and we do have a friend that's a pilot, and he has shared information about his encounters as a pilot with Ron and with me, and then we know several other people that know him, and it's just a matter of, how that snowballs.
Right, okay. So you and Mr. Stone started talking about, how did you get on the topic?
Well, I was just, it was something to do with politics, and usually I'm not that interested in politics, but I was wondering, all this stuff, like, okay, I'll tell you exactly. I was concerned that I had read that there were lots of Chinese military people here and Russian military people here. And that doesn't scare me because they may have been here like to learn to fly an airplane that their country bought from us, or that type of thing. So that in and of itself, but what made me wonder was, why are they choosing now to terminate gun rights?
To terminate what?
If you gun rights. They're wanting us to give up our rights to carry guns or to have guns, in our possession. And they're kind of pushing it right now. And I was wondering, why are they doing it right now when all these other people are here?
Well, don't forget that the United States of America has military attaches in China as well, Japan as well, South Korea, and even in Russia.
Oh, yeah.
So what's so strange about having Russian and Chinese military over here?
Oh, I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
It's just the idea. It just struck me as strange that how do I want to say that they're making kind of a big deal about it, right now.
What do you? They're making a big,
I don't know.
They're making a big deal about the Russian and Chinese military being over here, or making a big deal about gun ownership.
Yeah, it was gun ownership for the individual. And that, there are good arguments for both cases. I'm not fanatic either one, either way. And there are certain situations, if you're going to war, obviously you have to take a gun with you,
Usually helps.
But, it does. But my reason is if you aren't sure what somebody's doing in the country, maybe you should be able to have weapons too, There are certain groups of people that have immigrated into our country that really do not like the United States, and they've told people, that they have violent intentions and things, and that's, I guess, what scared me more than anything.
Okay, go on.
And then there were other things, too. I was reading about GMOs. My cousin is a food science major, and she's very into that sort of thing. And I couldn't understand what's the problem, like with GMOs. I talked to a man one time. I interviewed him for a newspaper story I did, and he was very logical, and I wasn't nearly as afraid of GMOs once I talked to him. But if there's a doubt or something, why don't they, if people want to know what foods have GMOs, what's the harm in telling us?
Well,
maybe I could write something and defend them, that type of thing, which I would do if I did find out that they were all right, sure. I don't have any preconceived agenda, that's what I found out, that's what I tell them.
All right. So you met Ron Stone through mutual acquaintances. You both were talking about politics. Obviously, you're concerned about the right to bear arms, and you're also concerned about certain people who have immigrated into the United States. Then you're also concerned about GMOs. Now, how did this bring you to Slipstream?
Well, okay, now that's interesting. But I came to the conclusion that the people that are running everything, and I'm not sure about the Canadians, but it could be them too, But definitely, I don't think that the people who are making the rules are totally human.
Why? What gives you that idea? What gives you that impression? How did you come to that conclusion?
Okay, have you ever heard of Dr. Richard Sauter?
Yes.
Okay.
I think he's an idiot.
He had written an article, and I read it 2 or 3 times, and I began to think, now this... And he said that there is some kind of a very malevolent machine mentality that seems to be governing everything that goes on here. And he went on and on about it, and the more I read about it, the more I started thinking, he's onto something. I'm not sure what it is, or if it's as bad as he says it is.
I think it's all the hallucinogenic drugs he takes personally. He's not this is a guy that lives outside of the United States. He's quite vocal against the United States. He's quite vocal against the United States government. And he doesn't even know if he's allowed back into the United States.
Right, and I have heard stuff to that effect, and I'm not saying that I embrace everything he says or anything, but I just began thinking he might be onto something. Now, to what extent,
he's on
I don't
hallucinogens. Know. Yeah, he's on a lot of stuff, including hallucinogenic drugs. Like, this guy's a wacko.
Oh, okay. Well, see, you probably know more about him than I do.
I had him on the show.
Being honest.
I had him on the show.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then you definitely know more about him than I do. Yes. But
I spent an hour with him. Yeah.
But it was just kind of interesting.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I read that and I began to think about it. If you think, this is one thing my dad told me one time. He says, don't think about things too much. Because then you get wrapped up in it and your mind closes to other things.
Yeah. So what brought you to the conclusion? Like, you seem like a very intelligent lady. You've been in the media a number of years. You've written a number of books. So what would bring you to the conclusion that extraterrestrials are part of the are part of the enigma of what goes on behind the curtain, so to speak?
That's the main thing right there. I am not 100% certain. I have read some stuff by David Icke, and some of the other people. And of course, some people think he's as goofy as what you were just saying. Well. And it does sound a little strange, But if you stop to think about it, if you're doing things that aren't 100% in favor of the health and well-being of the human race, what is your motive? I have a part in my book where I talk about Bobby Kennedy.
Okay, now which book is this? Which book is this?
The Slipstream.
Okay.
And there's a part in it where I think you might remember this, when they were going to admit communist China into the United Nations, and there was a big to-do about that. And he said, well, we all breathe the same air, we live on the same planet and all this. And it's like he was aware that we all shared things in common as human beings. But there's a lot of things going on today where the people don't seem to be aware of that or even care about it.
Well, there's a lot that we, in my opinion, that we don't need to know about. We don't need to know what the military is up to because they protect us. They're responsible for our security. And if we get them to spill all the beans on what they're doing, where they're doing it, and how they're doing it, what we're doing...
I agree.
Yeah. See,
totally,
what we're doing is...
Remember loose lips sink ships? Remember that?
Exactly. There you go. There you go.
Yeah. And I totally agree with that. And I think there's a lot of stuff. And especially like if we're at war with somebody, then it's a no-no. You just don't talk about stuff and all that. But this is a little bit, there's something different about it. I don't know. It just feels different.
Okay.
Maybe
now,
that's a bad
when you say there's something different, explain what you mean.
Well, it's not like we're in a war. Some of the stuff that we're doing.
Like what? Like what? What do we do?
Well, like, for example, do you want me to give you an example, maybe?
Definitely.
Say, okay. There's, okay. I'm just trying to think here. Okay, let's go with vaccination.
Okay.
Now, I have had every shot imaginable.
Me too.
I am not against.
Yep.
Yep. I had my quads for flu.
Yep.
I've, I had 6 vaccinations just the beginning of this year.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that should be proof that I'm not against being vaccinated.
Yep, you're right.
And my children, until they get past, once they're 19, you can't tell them you've got to
That's
get your
right.
vaccination.
Yeah, you're right. You did due diligence as a parent.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I've always had my kids vaccinated, at least with the stuff that I thought that they could give somebody or catch at school.
You're a good mom.
Yeah.
You're a good mom.
I hope so.
Sound like one.
So. But the thing is, some people, will talk about this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and they find examples. For example, they have a high rate of autism for certain vaccinations and things like that. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I just have to say this. There are people that have allergies, and things make them sick, that I wonder what on earth is wrong, and yet it's real.
Well,
I mean, somebody gets sick from using it,
Sure. Well, I think there's a lot. You know what? My wife and I were in the kitchen the other day, and she said, "Honey, we're out of bread." And I said, "No, we're not, dear. There's a loaf of bread in the fridge." She said, "Honey, I haven't bought bread in 3 weeks." I said, "Well, there's a loaf down there." So we took out this loaf of bread that has been in the fridge for 3 weeks, white bread.
Yeah.
And it looked as if it just came out of the store. That's how much preservatives are in our foods today. So
Absolutely.
I believe that a lot of the allergies that people are incurring is because of all the preservatives in our foods.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yes, you're absolutely right about that.
You see, and when it comes to the...
But then you have...
When it comes to the vaccinations and the... there's a lot of people a minority group of people who are saying that vaccinations are responsible for autism. They don't have any scientific proof to back what they're saying. This is the entire thing. Like, if somebody comes on this show and wants me to believe something, give me proof. And I had a guy on the show 2 weeks ago talking about autism. And he wrote a book about autism, and he could provide me with absolutely no proof to back up anything he was saying, except his own personal experience with his son.
Well, and I will tell you, now I'm a med lab tech, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Did I put that? Oh, yeah, I am.
Okay.
So I have somewhat of a science background. But let me tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I gave you a candy bar.
What kind?
Okay.
O. Henry, please. I love O. Henry candy bars. Okay. You gave me an O.
let's
Henry.
do O. Henry.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right.
But let's say you hadn't eaten one for years or something,
Yeah.
okay, just for the argument. Okay, then let's say that about 3 days after you ate it, you got sicker than a dog.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, it's the only thing different that you ate in your diet was the O. Henry candy bar. So you kind of hone in on that, okay? All right, now, suppose your doctor even thought it was. What was it in the O. Henry candy bar that made you sick? That's the problem.
Well, let's see.
If you could say it was chocolate, that would be, yeah.
I could have developed an allergy against peanuts.
Yes.
Okay, and so on.
My husband's cousin has that.
However, 3 days, I don't buy that. If you would have said within 12 hours most, because the digestive tract and the osmosis and everything else doesn't take more than 12 hours.
Oh, yes, that's true. I would go along with that, too. I would say you're probably true.
Yeah.
A faster reaction, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if somebody...
What I was getting at, what I'm trying to say, though, is you don't know without medical testing
Right.
what part of the candy bar hurt you.
Okay.
It could have been the peanuts, it could have been the chocolate, it could have been the caramel. I forget what they have in O. Henry.
Could have been could have been could have been I could have been suffering from the onset of diabetes, and I suffered a sugar spike. Who knows?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Or you may have eaten something that worked synergistically with
exactly.
it,
Okay.
or no, So the point is you don't know, and the only point that I make is if you think that there's some connection to something, I certainly would look into it and write reports about it and let the doctors read it and decide what it could be.
Right. I agree with you
before
100%.
I would continue on. Yeah.
I agree with you 100%.
That would just save a lot of grief.
Sure.
You know.
And a lot of speculation and a lot of conspiracy theories and a lot of disenchantment with the government and the medical community. Like, it seems that everybody today has to find something to bitch about.
It's just true. It's almost humorous, isn't it?
I think it's very pathetic, and I think the biggest perpetrator of all the bitching fest that is going on today is the Internet. The Internet is the biggest septic tank that man has ever created because there's more shit in it than there is anything else.
There is, and you can get all upset and you can get all worried. I forget, there was something a couple of weeks ago, I was all upset, worried about something, and then somebody came on and explained it, and it wasn't going to happen at all.
Exactly.
And I thought, what an idiot I am, or something. So I know what you're saying. But I do get kind of scared when I have people that want to just throw this out,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it ticks me off too. It really does, because I was on radio during Y2K. I've been doing this show.
Oh, God, I can imagine that.
I've been doing this show for 24 years. I've interviewed over 3,800 people. And I'll tell you, the worst time that I can remember was Y2K, because you had all the conspiracy idiots out there who were saying it's the end of the world. I remember a little old lady calling me up, and she was crying because she couldn't afford the gold, she couldn't afford the generator, she couldn't afford the food, because the world was going to come to an end. Her and her sister were going to die. Then you had another idiot in the media saying that there was a UFO in the tail of a comet. Like, come on, but.
That's really funny.
Sensationalism is what a lot of people want. They thrive on it. Look at Jerry Springer. Look at Maury Povich. Who in their right mind would go on a TV show, have the parent or have somebody tested for their DNA to see if they're the father or the mother of a child? Come on. This is the type of mentality the world has turned into. And all these so-called...
I saw that the other day. I saw that, and I was thinking, who would want that? I wouldn't want everybody... No. If I had done something like that, I wouldn't want everybody to know about it, would you?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
I mean, I've got enough faults already without having that. But it is. It's just people are looking into different things, and...
It's a screwed up world out there, my dear. It's a screwed up world. Okay, so let's get back to Slipstream. Let's get back to Slipstream and Ron Stone.
Yes. Now, I actually wrote this down. And by the way, if somebody wants to go over this a little thoroughly, if they want to order this or something, just let me know and I'll send them a copy. But I'm talking here, I say I'm looking at different things that are kind of suspicious, and I talk about the Frankenfood, and I talk about what I just did about, like vaccines and things like that. And it's just, there are too many things. It says, when the older people I know ran small businesses years ago, they all wanted to give back to the community. They had a sense of responsibility towards others if the economy went south. Not today. Today, all that matters is the bottom line. And it just seems like there's a hardness that has crept in that is not typical of humans. Humans usually want to help each other, you know?
Do you know what the difference is?
What?
Everyone is in survival mode.
Uh-huh.
That's what it's all about. Survival. Survival of the fittest. Because if you don't...
That could be.
Because if you don't... Look at what's happening on the job, in the job place. If you don't want to work, if you don't want to do overtime, hey, you're gone. There's 16, 20 people waiting to take your job at any time. The employers know.
Oh, I know.
The employers know they have you right by the cojones. And we now live in a society, not only are we all in survival mode, but we're also overly and too politically correct. You know? You know, you can, you can say that you're African American, that's okay. You can say you're Mexican, that's okay. You can say you're an Islam, a Muslim, that's okay. You can say this, that, and the other thing. You say you're white and you're a racist. You figure this out. I can't.
Well, and not, I mean, there are racists in every race.
Sure there are. Sure there are.
There are black people that hate white people. There are white people that hate black people. There are Orientals that think we're all nuts. Maybe they're right, too. You know, who knows? But it's true.
What we need to do is get back to the roots, get back to the old ways of doing things. I agree with you. You know, the old ways of helping out the community, communities coming together. Look what's happening in the home front, dear. I remember as a kid that, you know, supper was a very important meal because Mom and Dad were back from work. The brother was there. My grandmother was there. There was the exchange of information. You'd talk. You'd plan. You'd communicate. Now, you're lucky if you can get 3 of 10 family members to sit down and discuss anything, let alone supper. You know, well, wait a minute. I'm going to text you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, what's funny when you were talking about that, I remember where I went to school, if you were like in kindergarten, first grade, you were punished by being placed in the hall.
Yep.
You know, you had to face the corner and sit in the hall for an hour or something. My brother would always tell on me. He'd say, she's out there again, Mom.
Oh, my goodness. You weren't a troublemaker in school, were you?
Oh, no, I was a little saint. Believe me. No.
Sure you were. Sure you were. I believe that. All right, so let's get back to Ron Stone and your book, Slipstream,
Yeah, Slipstream. And so this is what I was telling him. Somehow we got on the subject of if they were from a huge distance, how they would get here.
Right.
And why some of them would feel certain ways about us instead of other ways. And he said, and this is kind of interesting, that there are intelligent animals as opposed to ensouled creatures. Now, humans are ensouled, of course, but we look at the world a lot differently because we're ensouled than, say, a very intelligent dog.
Well, why don't you tell the audience what you mean by ensouled?
It has a soul.
Okay.
It's an animal that has a soul and is capable of feeling other things. It's not just straight intellectual or straight experiential.
Right. Okay.
It you know.
Yeah. All right. So, are you saying that animals like our house animals are ensouled or they're not ensouled?
Well, that's hard to say. I've got my cat here, and I am very fond of her. I'd like to think she is ensouled, but for purposes of space travel or something, I don't think that would interest her even. You know.
Okay, so what does being ensouled have to do with the way that we can get around space?
Well, I'm coming to that, and I'm trying to look where it is. No, that's okay. The interesting thing is that the people that travel on the slipstream can experience the universe and other life forms as they are. as opposed to just an intelligent animal that goes, say, at the speed of light. All they have is just, they're a smart animal, but they haven't experienced, they're not aware of all the levels of not only intelligence, but other gifts that people have artistically, whatever, you know. It's just get me there and get back. And they are not experiencing the universe enough to actually understand it.
Wow. So,
see the difference?
Yeah, I do. Now, on the notes you sent my producer, you said that according to your information, Mr. Stone has been on Earth since the Middle Ages and has had two strong identities.
That's correct.
So does that mean he's 400 or 500 years old?
You'll have to ask him that. In fact, he said he was going to be listening in. I'm hoping that he will explain this to you, but he was telling me that, like, when he assumed his identity as Ron Stone, he remembers being in not a disc, but a sphere of some kind, and they were going down the hall, and there was another one alongside of him, and he did not want to answer this child that had just died. And they said, no, this has been timed to the second. You will do this. And he entered into this child that had died, and then he became Ron Stone. So he took
the body of another child, of a child that had passed.
Right, Dad. He was an old soul that took a child's body. That's correct.
So are we talking about reincarnation here?
Well, that's another thing, too. Ron doesn't believe in reincarnation. I mean, he believes it might be allowed to happen for specific purposes, for, learning experiences. But he doesn't really believe that this happens all the time to everyone. I'm kind of inclined to believe that from what I've read and everything, But he remembered when he got a little older, he saw something in a drugstore, and it made him think of his past life on this other planet.
Fascinating. Patricia, please stand by. I've got to take a commercial break here. Exonation, Patricia Ress is our special guest. www.patriciaressenterprises.com. And she is the author of a new book entitled Slipstream. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. We're coming to you live and around the world from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Ron Stone is my guest in the next hour here in the X Zone as we continue investigating the world of the paranormal, the science of parapsychology, and much more right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network and Starcom Radio Network. Don't go away. Do you think you have energy problems in your home? Do you feel better when you're away than when you're home? Yes. Joey Korn is a global leader in the world of dowsing who specializes in personal energy clearing and space clearing. He can help you create an ideal energy environment in your home no matter where you live in the world. Learn about his remote spiritual house cleaning services and much more at www.dowsers.com. You can get Joey's book, Dowsing, A Path to Enlightenment, as well as other dowsing books and tools, Kabbalah books, and Walter Russell books. Joey's work is really amazing. Go to dowsers.com right now. That's DOWSERS.com or call 1-877-DOWSING. That's 1-877-369-7464.
My name is Michael Telstar, Canada's leading mentalist from Toronto, Ontario.
Hi, my name is Splenda, and you're listening to my dad, Ron McConnell, on the X Zone.
This is Psychic Dorothy from St. Catharines, and you're listening to Rob McConnell.
Hello, my name is Holly Reeves, an astrologer from Astro For You, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Welcome to The X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you live from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide, 800-610-7035. Email xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. And you can listen to the X Zone live, 8 p.m. until midnight at xzoneradiotv.com. And for the rest of the day, you can listen to the best of that we play 24/7, 365. Once again, at www.xzoneradiotv.com. Patricia RESS is our guest. Is it RESS or RESS? Whoops. Craig, can you bring Patricia up? I think we've got her on hold. Oh, there she is. Patricia, is it Patricia RESS or Patricia RESS?
RESS.
RESS, okay. I was saying it right.
There you go.
Yeah. What is your main reason for writing Slipstream? What do you want the readers to understand?
Well, I'll tell you in a nutshell that aspect of it. A lot of times, one of the arguments against people coming here from other galaxies or solar systems is the vast distances you would have to travel.
Right.
And, you know, it would take you years. And what do you do in that time? You know, and your children are growing up. You know, if you have children, you probably wonder, where do I stash them while I'm doing all this, you know?
Sure.
And if you know that there's another way where you can actually get there almost as quickly, then it becomes less of a problem. Now, a slipstream is electromagnetic and travels at the speed of light or slightly less. A black hole is time and gravitic dependent and travels at light speed or faster. Now, according to Ron Stone, think of the black hole as the federal highway, while the slipstream is more like the farm to market. With a black hole, you're traveling too fast to experience the universe, and you have a limitless range. When you travel through a black hole, you reach your goal nearly instantaneously, and when one uses a slipstream, it is more for a planet-to-planet journey of tens of millions of miles and not good for star-to-star, galaxy-to-galaxy. So items needing to go by slipstream over larger distances would probably be sent on unmanned freighters. But one of the things that one of the earliest creatures to come to Earth, the Nephilim, likely rode in on a slipstream. Around this same time, or possibly a bit after, 7 to 8 foot tall Martians arrived via black hole teleport.
Whoa. Yep. 7 to 8 foot tall Martians?
Arrived here, black hole teleport.
And is there evidence of that?
Well, this is working backwards, okay? It says these were cannibals, and they resembled us, but they were human, and they had a need to eat human flesh. Now, why do they think that these people are around us now? And I was looking into Mr. Paulides, that does the people that are missing from the parks and everything. And he says when some of these people that are stolen, or the kids that are stolen, when they're found, it's like their teeth and their bones, it's like something's been eaten from them. You know, like cannibals have taken over. Yeah.
All right, so we're talking about 7 to 8 foot tall Martian vampires?
Yeah.
Or cannibals, I should say. Cannibals.
Yeah, cannibals, right. He claims that people who've been disappearing from our national parks and forests and other remote locations under very strange circumstances, children are never seen alive again, teenagers and adults have their clothes found along with teeth and bones. Their bodies are never done away with by the methods of the usual predators. So it says that it sounds as if black hole travelers have an advantage. Most scientists would tell you to wait a minute before researching that conclusion. But if you work your way through a slipstream, it is considerably easier. It's like getting on the Mississippi River. You need some simple navigational equipment like a compass and a way to direct where you're going, the general direction.
Okay, let's slow down here for a second, okay? I'm still trying to get over the fact that this guy is saying they're 7 to 8 foot tall Martian cannibals that are stealing people, and this is why people are disappearing.
Right, and there have been some Indian chiefs that have gotten together and talked about it. I can't remember exactly where I read this, but there were some people from the Southwest tribes. I'm not sure they're Hopis, but, you know, they're down in the same general area, if they're Hopi, Zunis, or whatever. But they said that there are these creatures that eat humans, and that they have returned. And that certainly ties in with that, and that certainly ties in with slipstream.
Where's the proof?
What's left of, like if they're missing children and they find some clothing, all that is left are teeth and bones.
Now, tell me something. Have you ever heard about this in the mainstream media? Have you ever heard any law enforcement agency, any law enforcement officer, any credible news media coverage about something like this?
No.
Then why do you believe it?
Because they've been interviewed by several very credible people, people like yourself, for example.
I would well, you know what? To say that I would interview them, yes, but I would put their feet to the fire and hold their feet on that fire until they gave me something that was worthwhile, like proof.
Well, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. They were watching while they were investigating this one case of this one child that had been taken. Okay, and the Green Berets were brought in.
And
now,
wait a sec. Okay, hold on. How do you know all this? How do we know this is true? And not a
it was on several TV or several radio shows. This guy has been on like Coast to Coast.
Well, that doesn't mean anything. No, Coast to Coast is another late night wacko show. Sure, why not?
Oh,
why not?
Would you do?
I wouldn't make it up. No, I wouldn't make it up.
I don't think you would. I don't think you would either.
I wouldn't.
But you think there are some people that would make that up?
Definitely. Definitely. I've had a number of them on the show, and I've cut them up, and I've shown the world that they're idiots.
Oh. Well, maybe I should be more choosy.
Well, No, I don't. Listen, sweetie. I don't. It's not up to me to tell you what to do. I'm just telling you what I would do. Like,
well, you're right. You're right. But what I'm mentioning here now, if I had just heard this story and nothing else, I would be right with you. I'd be right with you. I'd be thinking the same thing.
Right.
Your mind runs quite a bit like mine.
So
okay.
So tell me.
But what about the Green Berets? Why would they bring in Green Berets?
How do we know? How do we know the Green Berets were there?
Well, the father of the child that they were looking for came on and talked about it.
Were there any pictures?
Maybe he made it up too.
Were there any pictures?
Only of what the child looked like before the whole thing happened.
During your research, did you find any credible journalist, any credible newspaper carrying that story that would corroborate what the father was saying?
No.
Now, let me take a one second.
My take on it was they didn't want to scare them to death.
Well, wait a sec. We talk about terrorism. That scares the hell out of me.
Yes, me. Yes.
So when somebody says that 7 to 8 foot Martian cannibals are eating kids, and that this guy, that the child was taken by these predator aliens, and that the Green Beret were brought in, and you can't find any collaboration on any credible news media outlet, to me, now this is just me, I would say the guy is a nut, and it's nothing but a bunch of bunk. That whoever
I wonder about it, and I wonder, are they interpreting what they have correctly? Just like that O. Henry candy bar that made you sick, hypothetically. Okay, how do we know it was the chocolate or the peanuts or the caramel, or could it be something you ate with it?
In this case, you are the medical professional that does the diagnostics, who does the investigation to find out what made me sick. And in this case, when we get all these people who come on with all these strange claims, it's up to us as members of the accredited journalistic community to vet the information. And if they're full of crap, it's up to us to expose them as fraudsters, hoaxsters, people who are just looking for...
There's no test that you can run. There's no test you can run. Like, for example...
there is.
There is? Like what? Give me an idea. You know, like if you want to know if you have diabetes, I can think of all kinds of ways to test you. But I can't test you to see if you're telling the truth about seeing an alien. See what I'm saying?
Oh, there are ways.
Oh, okay. Well, tell me. I'm all ears.
You've got.
Why would you not trust, like, the parents of the child?
Well, let's see. Let's look at the case of John Benet Ramsey, the young girl. Her parents,
Colorado.
Her parents were, said they had nothing to do with it, and that this was something that they have no idea what happened, this, that, and the other thing. And where did the evidence lead the police? Back to the parents. Hello? Oh, look at that. I got hung up on. That's what happens, Exo Nation, when you get to the truth. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break. Hopefully we'll be able to speak to Ron Stone. He's scheduled to be the next guest. I chatted with him during the last commercial break to make sure that he was coming on. So hopefully Ron will be with us as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. X Zone Nation, it's very simple. If you want me to believe something, prove it. It's that plain. It's that simple. This is the first time I've ever heard of 7 to 8 foot Martian cannibals coming through a slipstream, and they're responsible for the disappearance of the children and other missing people from national parks and so on. I don't buy it. I really don't. Oh, my goodness. I'll be back on the other side of this break at the top of the hour as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. I'm here with you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until, 8 p.m. Eastern until midnight as we continue investigating the world of the paranormal and the science of the science of parapsychology from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away and watch out for those 7 to 8 foot tall Martian cannibals.